Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to lay out a template for a saddle. And in this case, we're going to show you how to figure your own dimensions to get that. This is the template for a 6-on-6. And we're going to show you how we got all of these dimensions to create that curve. This is a pipe that we've cut out using a template. And we can wrap this around this. And we can see that it actually fits the contour. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. And we're going to do it on a 4-inch. I'm going to show you how to create your own dimensions. You can get the dimensions anywhere. We can get them online, you can get them from different books. But that doesn't mean you know how to use them or how somebody else arrived at those dimensions. So we're going to lay out this saddle for a 4-inch. We're going to cut it out of PVC and show you that it works. We're going to first do a few things to get us prepped for that. We have to find the circumference of the particular pipe we're going to use, and then we have to break it up into 16 parts. We'll end up with 17 lines, 16 parts. And those parts are going to give the divisions we need. If you can see across the bottom of this paper, you can see it starts with a 5 in the middle where the line is, and it goes to the right 4, 3, 2, 1, and then goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same thing coming back this way from the middle. It goes to the left, starts at 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to learn what those are for, why it's laid out like that, and how we got to it. This is the PVC piece we're going to use, and we're going to measure across it to ensure we get the right dimensioning, and we're going to start laying it out. But first we got to figure out the circumference, and we have to do the layout of it. So we figure out the circumference. It's going to be somewhere around 13 inches, 4-inch pipe. I'll figure it out. And then we're going to divide that into 16 pieces, and that's going to give us our run for the piece, our total run. Okay. So obviously this is not going to work on a 4-inch. So we're going to make one for a 4-inch. Okay, so we know it's a 4 1/4 inch diameter. Now, we'll get into the wall thickness later, but right now, outside dimension is what we use for the saddle. When we're creating the fish mouth, that's going to be the opening where the saddle's going to sit on. When we figure that fish mouth, then we need to know the inside dimension. So for right now, we have a 4 1/2 inch diameter, or 4 1/4 inch diameter outside. So to get the circumference, we need to multiply that by pi, which is 3.1416. And 4.250 is a quarter. Just drop the 0 off of it. Don't need the 0. Alright, so we're going to multiply that out, and we're going to say So it's 2, 8, 13. And carry the 1. That gives me a 3. And just bring down the 1. So that's what it is. That's the circumference. So now we got to do is figure out how many decimal places to move that over. Here's our decimal place. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I put my decimal place right there, I have 13.3518. Okay? So that's our circumference. Okay, so it equals, our circumference equals 13.3518. 0.3518. All right, we need to know that in fractions. So we're just going to pick a fraction and multiply it by something we might use, which is I'm going to do it by 30 seconds. So if I multiply that by 32, I'll get how many 30 seconds of an inch that is. We had 32 times 0.3518. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So we multiplied it out. We got 11, 25, 76. So we got to move it 4 decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means it is 11.25, let's just say 26, over 32. Alright, so it's just over 11:30 seconds. We'll figure that in later. And we divided that by 16, and we get 0.8345. And we took this and divided it by 16 to get our spaces that are going to go all the way around that pipe. Equal spaces all the way around, so we can graph what's going to go around it, okay, for the template. So it's 13.35 divided by 16. It gives us 0.8345. Now we times that by 32, kind of get where we're at. We got to move 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. 26.7 30 seconds. We multiplied by 32 because that's the size of fraction we want. 30 seconds, we have 13, 11, 30 seconds is our circumference. And then each individual space is going to be 26 30 seconds. A little bit over it on each one of them. So we'll compensate for that. So those are the dimensions we're going to use when we start laying this out. Okay, so what we're trying to create is a saddle where one pipe will sit on top of the other and form fit it, right? Okay, so if I set this on there, so we're going to draw that with the little sides sticking out, and we're not going to put much, it's just a reference. And we're going to use the top of this pipe. We're going to draw a line all the way across our drawing. We use that as a reference point that all our dimensions are going to come off of. And we're going to end up laying out a saddle like that. and we're going to build the template for it. Okay, so what we're going to do, I picked a center point, and I just picked a center point. I got it away from the edge a little bit, got it away from the top a little bit, picked a center point, and I'm drawing an arc right there. Okay, so now we need one. Both of these are elevation views. Both of these are elevation views. We have the front elevation view, and we always say in blueprints that the front view gives the most detail. So if I was to look at this, that would give me more detail than that would. That I see a pipe sticking up and a end of a pipe. So this is still an elevation view because it shows progressively where it is in height. Okay, so that's an elevation view, but it's the end elevation view. This would be the front elevation view because it shows more detail. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw two of them. We're going to have the front elevation view, which means we're going to have our little shoulder for our pipe that sticks out. And we're going to draw that and use the top of that to come down here to do our layout for our template. Alright, so here's the arch for the first one. And I'm going to take a pencil here. And we're just going to give it a little shoulder here just so we have a reference point, okay? That's what this is for. A little reference point here. So that's actually representing the pipe that it's sitting on, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what taper it takes to go over that pipe. So now we need the actual distance of the pipe. So I take the outside diameter of the pipe. This is the radius. So 2 times the radius is the outside diameter right to here. And I'm going to draw a straight line there. And what this does is going to give us a bottom view, or a view of the bottom of that pipe. And then all our dimensions will reference off of that. We'll know right where we're at. Okay? I'm not going to put too many lines on here. You want to avoid doing that. You don't want to clutter up your drawing. You just want to keep it as smooth as possible. Alright, so I'm not going to put these side lines on there showing the edges of the pipe. I'm just showing where it is. Alright, so we have where the top piece is going to be, and then we have the actual header. Alright, so you have on a saddle fit up, the one that gets the saddle is the branch pipe. The other one is the header. That's the one you're going to cut out the opening on, put the saddle on. So the main pipe here is called the header. This is the branch. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to draw 2 elevation views. Elevation views indicate that you're looking at it from a distance and you can see its height. So its elevations. So midpoint would be the center line of the header, and then up to the top of that would be the saddle beginnings. Okay, so we're going to draw that, and I just had to pick a random place to start. Away from the edge of the paper, away from the top of the paper. So I just picked a center mark, set my compass to half of the diameter, and I drew the radius there. Alright, that's representing, we're going to break that down into the individual marks that have to go on the pipe to figure out our distance down to each one of these locations, okay? So we're going to do that by drawing out the elevation view front and the side elevation views. So here we go. I'm going to make them dark so that we can see them, and they don't have any reference over, they don't have any significance over the actual dimensioning. So we'll get that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make them dark so we see the outline of what we're calling the pipe. Okay? Alright, so it's going to stick up a little bit. Okay, it's going to stick up a little bit, and it's going to stick out a little bit. I'm going to leave this side off of there because the more lines you have on your drawing, the more confusing it gets. So we're going to try to keep it down to a minimum. So this represents the header and saddle, okay? Header and branch. Okay, so this represents the outside or outline of the header. The header is the one that the saddle is going to sit on. Okay, the main pipe, we're going to set a saddle on it. This represents the piece or branch pipe that we're going to cut the saddle out of. Alright, so we're going to have, this would be the front view. It shows most details. It shows the header and the branch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move over next to it and we're going to draw the end elevation view of the same situation. So it'd be just like this. If we have this, and this is what we're representing with this drawing here. We're representing these pipes going like this, okay? So now we need the end view. So it's just like we rotated it over, okay? And that's what we're going to draw next. Alright, so we picked this spot so we would have plenty of room. And we're just drawing the radius here. Using the same center line, okay? And we're going to lay this out just like this is laid out, and we're going to bring it down, but we're going to show the radius of the bottom one because this is the elevation view. So coming off of this line right here, I'm going to make a nice long straight line. We're going to have this line here as the center line of our pattern. Over here will be our pattern. This represents the top of this pipe, okay? Once I get it over here, I'm going to change it to these dimensions here, okay? So this is going to represent the top of it, and then the individual lines I'll transfer over. Okay, so Just come straight down like this. Alright, now we have to break this circle into 8 separate pieces. If everybody remembers their math, all we have to do is collect 2 equal points on an arc, and that will give us the center line from the center out. Okay, it'll divide it into pieces. So guess what? I have the radius here. If I take the radius at this point and I put an arc, and I know this is the center line. Here's our center. So I know the center line. I'm going to put it in blue so we don't get confused here. Okay, so there's our vertical center lines, and we know where the center point is. So we're going to draw it in blue, and we know where we're starting from that way. Okay, so we have the 2 circles. This represents the end, which I might as well draw the bottom pipe because we're going to take our dimensionings off of it. So if I come off of that from our center line, that gives us the center point of the bottom pipe. So if I use the same center line all the way through, I'll do it just like this. You little devil. Alright. I'll do the same on this one just so we are using the same lines. Okay. It's close enough. Close enough for a town this size. Alright. So we have our center lines. We've already made one arc off of this arc connection to the center line. And we're going to do that at different points. So we know this point, we know that point. So guess what? We're going to take an arc off of that. When I do that, it gives me a point. I took an arc off of this center line connection to the arc, and I took a point off of this center line connection to the arc. And I just swept them together and made a point. That point will divide this evenly. So we're trying to get 8 parts out of a half. So I line that up, and it gives me half of that. So I know that this is 90, that must be 45, and that would be 45. I know that. Now again, we're going to keep this from being cluttered up, so I'm getting rid of the lines that I put on there. You can leave them on there. I don't like them on there, it just confuses stuff. Okay, so now I created a new point. Now I can still have 2 points that are different than what I was using that I can use for another arc. And all that's going to do is divide that section in half. So if I put an arc here, and I put an arc here, using the same measurement across the dividers, then that gives me another division of this circle that will be equal to that. Okay? So now I have to get this one divided. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to divide this one from this point. And I'm going to divide this one from this point. I'm going to connect that to the center line again. So if I hit that cross and that center point, that divides that arc in two. So now I've created 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 8 pieces I need. Because remember, this is half of the circle. 8 and 8, 16. We're going to end up with 16 pieces. Okay? So I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. I'm going to pick the point where the arc divides the center line on 2 points. And I'm going to connect that to the center line. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty close. You're not going to believe this, but this is not rocket science. So, now I created another point. I can divide each one of those in two. Get rid of these marks because it just confuses everything. I'm going to do that mark over again. It stayed the same, but I'm going to do it over again. Okay. Alright, so do my arc over here and divide it with this arc. Now I take that arc to the center and it divides this lower one in half. Okay. Now I got to do this top one. So I got to use this point and this point to put an arc up here and center and divide that one in half. Get rid of these. It's just confusing. Don't need them. Don't need this one. We're already done with divide that one. Try to keep your lines to a minimum on your drawing. That'll help you in the end. Okay, so we're going to divide this last one in half by using these 2 points. This one here and this one here. So we connect that to the center. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. If I was to flip that over for the other half, I would have 16 pieces. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to set our compass to that dimension and check all of them. Okay, so I need to trim this. Alright, so I'm going to tighten up this a little bit. Okay, so if I start here, that matches it. That matches it. It's a little bit off. Oh, that matches it just right. That matches it. Now I'm going to come up this way. That matches it. That matches it. That matches it. Okay, all of them turned out pretty close. I'm within a 1/16 of an inch. So, 1/16 of an inch on 4-inch pipe is a pretty good amount. So, but we're going to do it. We're going to take care of this. All right. So now we have this one broken, and what this is going to do, this is going to come down to this center line and come over and connect with these points. So all of these points right here, I've got to copy them down through where the header would be. Okay, so that's what we're going to do after we divide the other one. Okay, we're done with that. We're going to check the spacing. Spacing has to be the same as that side. I've already got the compass set. I'm going to check it. Good. A little bit short. Good. A little bit extended. Good. 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 All right. So now if I extend these lines down this way, and I extend these lines down, I can connect the two, and it's going to tell me where these pipes will connect. If this pipe is sitting on top of this one, it'll tell me what it's going to take in dimensions. Alright, so that's the next thing I'm going to do, is drop all our lines. Okay, so we got to draw the center line for the top saddle, the branch pipe, through the header, and this is going to be the diameter of the header, or so now we know. I get it in the same hole. Now we know that these lines will intersect on this header at different places. Okay? So this view is going to give us the dimensions from here up to this header top, okay, as these lines intersect it. Then I'm going to transfer them over here, and it's going to hit each one of these lines. Now remember, we said we were going to number each one of the pieces. So what we're going to do, matter of fact, I showed you on this template right here, you can see the numbers on it, and the numbers represent each one of the positions. Right now we have 8 positions on that pipe. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's all 8 positions for 1/4 or 1/2 of that pipe. If it bends around like that, it's 1/2. So these numbers will represent what tied to what. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to number them just like these are numbered. And the one furthest away from the header is going to be numbered 5. Okay? So this one's 5. And then it goes to the right, as we're going to go this way, all the way to 1. So we know the smallest one is 1. Okay? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So as it gets closer to the header, the smaller the number. As it goes away from the header, the larger the number. So we have to do this exactly the opposite. Here's why. Alright, so if I have this, let's turn it this way. The furthest distance from the center of this pipe, this line right here, it has a further way, place to travel. So this one we call number 5. Okay. Now, if I rotate this, now I'm not looking at 5 anymore. I'm looking at the end of it. Okay, which was the other number, 1. All right. So we took this one. We just rotated it either direction so that we're looking at the end of this pipe now. So now that's 1. This middle one is going to be 1. Okay? So we're going to number these. This ends up being 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Because you can see 5 will be the furthest from the edge of the pipe. Well, this one, it has to tie into this pipe, so it's going to be the furthest one down to the center of it. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now what we're going to do is we're going to connect 5 to the edge of this pipe, 4 to the edge of the pipe, 3 to the edge of the pipe, vertically, okay? And then we're going to transfer those over. So these, when I transfer the lines down, are going to tell us how far away they are from each other. They're going to go over here, and these will tell us how far down they go. So it's going to give us an arc, okay? Alright, so I'm going to speed this up on the thing so you don't have to watch me transfer all the lines, but I'm going to transfer all the lines now. And one is right here. 1 ties into the top of it. 5 does not. So all of these lines have to come straight on through. Then we're going to bring these lines over horizontally to see where we need to be. Alright, so let's drop all these lines. Here's 1 right here. And we know 1 is going to be right there. That's 0. So 1 goes to here, drops down to here. Because this line right here is our reference line for our dimensions. Okay? Matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this in blue. So you know we're staying with the same top of the pipe. This is the top of the pipe. Okay? Alright. So we're bringing this down to there, that down to there. So we got those points. Okay? Alright, so we're going to bring this down. There's 1 point right there. There's number 1 there. So 1 and 1, here's where 1 is. It's got to tie to that one. 1 has to tie to that one. It does. So let's drop 2. Now I'm dropping them past the center line, and we got to be a little bit above the center line, which I will make clear here. That's our center line. What I'm going to do is make it a little more clear. That's our center line. Okay, so now we're bringing these down the whatever appropriate dimension we need, okay? Which is going to be determined by that. So we're bringing these down in green. Okay, I've got all these in there. And I don't really think you can see them in green. I might make them a little darker. Okay. In fact, let's just make it a little bit darker.